Garrett Blevins here with just a quick little do-it-yourself. I had two issues today. One was my feet were slipping a little bit on the deadlift because the platform is just birch and it's not finished or sealed. Or it's finished, but it's not sealed with any lacquer or anything that would have a little bit more of a sticky surface. So what I did was clean this up a little bit because this is part of my other project here. Just took the leftover horse stall mat that I had. I had a 4x4 square, cut it in half. You'll see here, drilled some screws in, sunk them a little deeper so that my feet would never get stuck on them or something like that. But only put 2 in there because that's actually going in the birch. And then put 4 screws around the edges here so that now when I deadlift off the end of my platform, my feet aren't going to slide. So let me focus this up a little bit better. There we go. So that's what I'll be deadlifting on. The reason I didn't put it at the end is just because the floor is a little bit more level there and the weights don't roll at all. I would have to spend some time leveling this corner right over here with some of this stuff, and it would be a hassle. I'd have to pick up the whole platform, so I just figured might as well stick it here for now. Now the other thing that I was doing when I was deadlifting was just loading and unloading the weights was kind of annoying, so I've decided to make my own deadlift jack. So pretty much all this is, it's just rubber flooring. I took a square of it, cut it in 2 lengths, and then I cut 1 square block like this. That's going to go at the end to stop the weight once it rolls in there. Then on the other sides, just with a box cutter is not the best tool to whittle some rubber with, so you might want to be careful. But I just carved off the edges here of these 2 pieces. So the bottom piece, I'm going to screw this one into it. So I'll just use a screw to hold them together. So the weight will jump up that. I may make that a little bit less aggressive of a bump. And then this piece will go here, and the weights will sit up on that so that I can change the weights back and forth a little bit more easily. I may also put some cardboard down in the middle of this right here, so it's just a little bit thicker than the 3/4 of an inch, because that'll just make sure that I can slide the weights off easily. So that's a do-it-yourself deadlift jack if you have some extra rubber flooring lying around that you don't care about cutting up. Alright, so here we have our almost finished product. I decided to overlay cardboard over the bump that I've made here. You'll notice the screws are in there, but I'm going to have to, you'll see how the screws just a little too long poking out the bottom, and I don't want that dragging around, scratching the platform, even though it would be on the rubber areas. So I'm going to put some cardboard on the sides. And let me get this right, it'll look like this. There we go. It's going to be something like that with this over the top. And then I'm going to use some trusty old duct tape and duct tape around the whole thing. So you'll see that in just a second. Alright, so here we are with the finished product. It is about as ghetto as it gets, but it was free. And that is my deadlift jack. So I'll just roll the bar up right here, and then it'll sit there. And that's how I will be unracking my deadlift bar from now on. Should be a lot easier. So yeah, there you go. So into the actual workout itself, you'll notice this is before I laid down those horse stall mats and where I was having some issues with my feet slipping. Had to really try hard to keep my feet underneath me. You'll notice I'm doing the first rep hook grip, and then I'm doing some additional rep work to warm up with some straps. I'll probably be doing this most of the time. I have some stuff to cover up my thumbs coming in, probably tomorrow. I don't know, maybe the next day or so, I'm not sure. But anyways, hopefully that'll help with some of the callus buildup that I'm already getting from hook grip. It is weird, definitely different than anything I've done before grip-wise, and I'm sure it's going to take some time to get used to. However, I was pretty happy with this. This was 545. It was supposed to be around an RP8. And this was hook grip, so it moved pretty well. I was fairly happy with it. I am trying to mirror my squat stance with my deadlift stance, and I'm also trying to bring my hips forward out of the bottom of the lift so that I'm activating my glutes as fast as I can instead of letting my hips travel backwards. And did a much better job of that on this day than pretty much any other day that I have done deadlift in a while. Almost always my hips would kick back first and my shins would go completely vertical, and I would be really using my back to deadlift the weight up. I think this is exposing a weakness in my quads that I'm trying to address with some other Bulgarian squats and high bar work. You'll see there how I was actually trying to imagine and go through the movement pattern of a low bar squat to get down to the weight, to get that proper starting position. And so it's something I'm going to have to work on for quite a while. I did notice a few things though. You'll notice my starting position there is pretty low, and then my hips kick back a little bit before the weight starts leaving the ground. My hips are still in a better location relative to the bar than they have been. I'm also getting some collars to go with this bar because the weights are real slippery when it's just metal. So that made this set pretty hard. That said, I'm working a lot on my deadlift. It is a major weak point. You'll see the first rep on the on the left is the starting position. On the right is where the bar left the floor for the first rep. And I went through and I compared that on the second and third reps where I would touch the ground and then start over. You'll notice that my hips are almost in the same position when I come down from the top of the deadlift and touch the ground and go back, which means that my hips are leaving at a pretty good spot. However, I'm also noticing that my hips are slightly higher on that first rep when the bar leaves the floor. So that's something that I'm going to have to address because it's not an optimal position. It means that my hips are still traveling up a little bit more than they need to. And when I'm tighter, I have a little bit more forward lean, and it's a little bit better position on the rep work. The reps definitely move a lot easier. So that's something I'm going to be working on going forward with sumo deadlift. You'll see here the the rest of the work that I did for the day, which was close grip. It was kind of touch and go. They were for sets of 7, so some of them were touch and go. Some of them I had a little bit more of a pause on the reps. Most of the time I'll do that. I'll pause either the first and the last rep and maybe some reps in between. I think I ended up doing 5 sets, taking it from initial RPE of about 7.5 to an RPE 9 or so, and this was with 300 pounds, so just kind of some good rep work. Felt pretty good at the end of the day, and finished up with some fat bar pull-ups. So continuing on with this series, I had talked about the other previously, and the other being another person, but this could also be extended in some ways to creation itself, to like plants and animals, to varying degrees. And maybe we'll have some time to get into some ecological ethics here at a later time, but really in this video what I want to ask is the question of to master or not to master. And what I mean by that is our goal as human beings to master things, to become so good at them that those things become ours, and to master them in such a way that we own them? You could think of this as a human being in slavery. Is it possible, is it ever right for one human being to be the master of another human being? Do some human beings, for whatever reason, maybe that's economical advantage, they have more money, technological advantage, or something within their nature, as people have posited in the past, in my opinion quite horribly, that because of their genetic makeup or their skin color, they are somehow superior to other races. Is this legitimate? Can a human being ever master another human being? This has also been present with male and female relationships, where men have often dominated women and have set up structures and institutions that hold women back. For an easy example, we could look at women's voting rights in the United States as recently as that, and women's suffrage and that process in our country. We could also look to the civil rights movement if we wanted to talk about institutionalized prejudice and segregation and separation. So these are all things that have existed within our own country's history somewhat recently. I mean, this isn't like thousands of years old or anything like that. These issues are very much still alive today. And so the question remains, is it ever legitimate for one human being to master another human being so that they become property? And I'm going to continue this on in other videos, continue this theme, and ask that same question
of other things. And what does mastery or ownership of property or items or animals or plants, what does that mean? And what does the Bible have to say about that? Or what do various interpretations of the Bible have to say about that? Because I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. Different people at different points in history, from a Christian perspective, have given very different answers to that question. And I'll talk about some of those, but also a postmodern Christian perspective on answers to that question. Really rooted in some of the early commands and creation stories within Christianity and how they can be read differently. So that'll be coming up in the future. I hope wherever you're at, you're doing well. Blessings.